What's up guys, David here, and I'm your coach of the FC Popplio. We have our third game of groups for the NPL Minors Tryout tournament. I'm up against 618 Shadow and the Connecticut Krookodiles or something? Yeah, the logo will be off to the right, as well as his team and my team and all that fun stuff. But let's get into the team builder real quick, and I'll show you what he's bringing and what I'm bringing. Big things that I'm scared of are the Azumarill, are the Doublade, are the Lopunny. All three of those have very strong priority, much like the rest of the group. So Dugtrio is unfortunately staying home. Other things to worry about: the Mandibuzz is very difficult for me to kill, considering that my biggest threats are like fighting types and dark types and like a poison type and like psychics. Like, as you could see, like the main things that can kill a Mandibuzz are like, I don't even know. It would have to be like special. It would have to be like T-Bolt from Starmie or Silvally or Mesprit or something. But yeah, his Mandibuzz is very problematic, and I deal with it in the game as best as I could. Other things to note: Latios and Nidoking are Zmons. Nidoking and Raikou are kind of iffy on if he'll bring or not, in my opinion. If he's bringing Nidoking, it's going to be Scarfed, or Latios is going to be Scarfed. One of those two is going to be Scarfed. The other one will probably be the Zmon. But let's get into the team. First, once again, of course, is our Mega Beedrill with enough speed to outspeed Jolly Lopunny, Jolly Mega Lopunny, and it's carrying Fell Stinger, Poison Jab, Knockoff, X Scissor. Fell Stinger is just not really gonna see use, man. Like, I keep bringing it, it's not gonna work. Oh, that's not true. That's not true at all. This is old. I remember why Fell Stinger's not gonna see use, because this is actually U-turn. Yeah, I had Fell Stinger originally and I dropped it for U-turn. Wow, I'm an idiot. But that means something else needs to be fixed when we get to it. But yeah, general pivoting, knockoff for the Doublade, jab for Azu and everything, and then U-turn. Yeah, it's a Beedrill. What do you want me to, what do you want from the Beedrill, dude? All the EVs are in defense. All the extra EVs are in defense to let me take Aqua Jets and Sneaks better, as well as quick attacks from Lop. Moving on, we have our offensive Intimidate Yachiberry Krookodile. This originally was Stone Edge. I switched it to Toxic. Yeah, Krookodile is there to set up rocks and pressure his Doublade. Yachiberry is to take any sort of shenanigans from like Scarf Nidoking or Latios and just hit them both with a knockoff or EQ. Just a Krookodile, set up rocks. Toxic for the Mandibuzz. It's my only Mandibuzz. It's my main Mandibuzz switch in if he decides to bring like Flying Stab. So yeah, that's Jolly Crook. It's 300 speed to outspeed Modest Shaman. And aside from that, yeah, that's it. Let's go into the win condition. Our Scarfed Cobalion with Volt Switch, Iron Head, Close Combat, Thunder Wave. Thunder Wave in case of a Scarf Latios coming in on us. Volt Switch for general pivoting. Iron Head and Close Combat for stabs and to hit things hard. If he doesn't bring the Doublade, then this thing has a field day. Azu is kind of problematic to this. Mandibuzz is really hard to kill with this. But yeah, overall, Scarf Koba, I'm hoping for it to put in the finest of work. And then we have our meme set. This was also changed last minute. This is an old paste bin. I made changes right before the match. We have a Rocky Helmet Fizdef Mesprit with Rest Talk, Calm Mind, Dazzling Gleam. Once again, if Double 8 is not there, then this thing does a ton of work. If this also takes into account the fact that Nidoking doesn't bring Life Orb Megahorn or Z Megahorn or something, that would be terrifying. But Rest Talk Mesprit is for the Mega Lopunny. It's not 2-hit KO'd by anything that it wants to do. And yeah, Rocky Helmet Mesprit, go team. It's my general switch into everything. It's just a bulky pivot. Next up, we have Flynium Z Salamence, Dragon Dance, Dragon Claw, Fly, Fire Blast with a naive nature. Fire Blast 2-hit KOs Doublade. Z Fly does 70%. It's like a 50% chance. Guarantee Okos Mandibuzz after rocks or something like that. I think that's what it is. I think it comes close or it guarantees an Oko on Mandibuzz after rocks. So that's the plan. And then Dragon Claw for general stab and for the Latios. Z-Fly also murders a Azumarill. I believe +1 Okos any variant from full. And yeah, Jolly Max Speed to speed tie the Shaman. I don't really need to, don't want to play any games around that. Last but certainly not least is our Assault Vest Silvally, rocking T-Bolt, Ice Beam, Flamethrower. This was also changed. Lots of last second changes. Flamethrower and U-Turn. Max HP, enough speed for Modest Shaman, and 80 special attack. Assault Vest to take hits from Nidoking, to take hits from Shaman. I left it as Silvally normal to come in on the Doublade and scare it out with a Flamethrower or U-Turn or whatever. But yeah, that's the team. And let's get on to our match. As we can see, Shadow brought everything I expected aside from the Azumarill. I was very confused. I didn't expect Shaman or Nidoking to possibly be one of those two. Were probably staying home for the Azu in my mind. I was terrified of the Azu going into it. The second the screen pops up and I see no Azu, I just let out a huge sigh of relief. His fairy's gone, so I don't have to worry about Mence hurting anything, not like clicking a dragon move. The Double 8's gonna be super pressured by like everything, and yeah, I didn't know what the Shaman was gonna do. I figured Nidoking coming meant that it was either a Sash lead or it was Scarf, and I actually forget what I lead with. I believe it's with Beedrill, like every other game. Yep, I lead with Beedrill. I decide this thing is Scarfed, so I'm gonna switch out as he switches out into his Mandibuzz, which I see is his dedicated switch into Beedrill. I go into my Silvally as my dedicated switch into Nidoking. I click U-Turn, and I go into my Krookodile as he goes for a Toxic. Now, this ends up not really mattering to me. I'd rather him Toxic me than hit me with a Foul Play. So I'm just going to set up my rocks and call it a day. He brings in Shaman. I don't know if it's Timid, I don't know if it's Specs or Scarf or what. I'm just going into my Mesprit, and he fires off a Seed Flare, and it does 55. This tells me one of two things. He is either Modest, or he's Grass Seed or Miracle Seed. Looking at my team comp, I don't think he would bring like Miracle Seed or Grass Plate. So I'm leaning towards Modest Scarf right now. And that's sort of my thought process right now. So I decide he's Modest Scarf, I can go into my Beedrill. Because I'm not taking another Seed Flare. So I'm just going to go right into my Beedrill to take the incoming Seed Flare. No, I go into my Silvally. Right. I didn't want to risk him being not Scarf. So I go for a Thunderbolt as he goes for a foul play, which is a good play on, which is an interesting play on his part. I was expecting a defog or a Toxic, but instead he foul plays, I guess expecting me to be a physical Silvally. So I think all 3 games people have messed up on like what kind of damage type my Silvally is going to be, which I guess is a neat factor of Silvally. But yeah, he goes for a foul play doing 27 to my Silvally, to my Sylvest Silvally. Wow, I can't speak today. As I go for, I'm going to hard switch and not U-turn for whatever reason. And I go back into my Krookodile. I'm like, I can get a Toxic on this thing, but first I'm going to click knock off and get rid of those pesky leftovers. So I knock off the leftovers. I knock off Shaman's leftovers, which tells me this is modest. I'm expecting a Seed Flare. I go into my Beedrill, I make a big boy play. He goes for a Synthesis, which scares the shit out of me when I saw that it wasn't a Seed Flare. So he goes into his Doublade, which is a very good play because Mandibuzz is kind of low. So I just U-turn as he switches out, go into my Krookodile. And here is probably the biggest misplay I think Shadow makes this game, and the play that basically costs him the game. I get to click knockoff here. I'm going to click knockoff here. I'm not going to EQ. I want to catch the Mandibuzz's leftovers. And I can't Toxic the Doublade. I can't EQ the Mandibuzz, so I'm just going to click knockoff. If he stays in, I remove this guy's Eviolite. I live any hit. If he SDs, then that's completely fine by me. If he Sacred Swords, he would have to be like banded or something. So I go for a knockoff. It does 50. It does a huge amount. As he goes for a Sacred Sword, thanks to the Intimidate and my 40 defense EVs, I'm able to live that and the poison. I decide I could save this for later, as I figured he was going to go for a Shadow Sneak. So I go into my Silvally, and here he sacks off his Doublade. Now, him sacking off his Doublade is huge, absolutely huge, because that means, like I said in the team builder, nothing comes in on Cobalion now. He doesn't have a reliable switch in to my Beedrill, to my Cobalion, to anything anymore. Like, Doublade was his switch in, and he just threw it away to a random Silvally and a Krookodile. Two things that he probably planned on walling with it. So in comes his Lopunny. I decide, here's a good time to just sack off my Krook. And I do just that. As I want to scout for the Fake Out, I want to scout for Quick Attack, I want to scout for any Power Punch, whatever. So he goes for a return, and I go into my Mesprit. I'm expecting him to return again, thinking it's an easy kill as I go for a rest here. And we go Night Night, fully expecting him to defog here, or foul play or do something. I'm just going to click Sleep Talk. I roll my Dazzling Gleam. Does a nice 31%. He taunts me, and I'm basically crippled. I have to switch out, and I decide, wait, I see his whole moveset. Roost, Foul Play, Toxic, and Taunt. He doesn't have Defog, which means rocks are there to stay, and he doesn't have a flying move. So Cobalion is a free switch in 100,000,000% of the time, and if he Foul Plays, I just get free boosts. So I go into my Cobalion. I'm just going to lock myself into Iron Head. I have no reason not to. He goes into his Latios. Iron Head does 47. That tells me it's offensive. I live any Scarf Latios hit, so I just click it again, and down goes his Latios. Really easily. He goes into his Shaman. I go into my Silvally expecting the Earth Power, or at the very least making a mid-ground play. So he Earth Powers, I U-turn on his Shaman, he goes into Mandibuzz. I bring Cobalion right back in. And here we are. He can't do anything. I'm going to Iron Head. I get a flinch or something. I'm going to put this on fast because a lot of this match is Cobalion versus Mandibuzz. And him spending a couple turns roosting and figuring out what he wants to sack next to the Cobalion. So, Iron Head. I'm going to switch on the Shaman, even though I could have maybe gone for the roll, but I didn't want to risk it. Cobalion, I noticed that Cobalion was my win condition. It was my best way to kill Megalopony, and it was the only thing that would outspeed a Scarf Nidoking. I did debate on going for the Iron Head flinch though. So I make the safe play. I go into my Silvally as he synthesizes. I click Ice Beam. Safe neutral play. He crits me with the Seed Float, which hurts a lot. As I just go for the U-turn on his switch out. And I go into my Salamence. Now, I go into Salamence to bait the foul play, to bait the foul play, or to bait the toxic. Either one. I figured it would make him click foul play, so then if I DD'd, I died, or came close to it at least. And I would go into my Cobalion and get the +1 boost from the foul play. Instead, he goes for taunt, which was weird because that was a bit of a choke on his play, on his end. Because if I clicked Dragon Dance there and he clicked taunt, then I won the game. Like 100 ways to Sunday. Like +1 Flying EMZ would have killed the Mandibuzz, and then Fly would have killed all 3 of his mons. But I guess I made a mistake and went to Koba expecting the foul play. And we're back at this. Iron Head flinches for days until he decides he's had enough. Iron Head, he goes into Shaman. Instead of sacking off the Shaman, for whatever reason, he goes into his Scarf Nidoking to sack that off. I guess he was a bit tilted and confused by the Koba. I don't know. It was a weird play, but I decided to sack my Silvally to the Lopunny. I go into Cobalion and just click CC on the Lopunny. Shaman comes in and sacks itself. He goes into Mandibuzz, and CC. I go for a CC, expecting him to foul play, hoping he'd foul play. To be honest, he goes for a Roost. As I switch out, expecting him to Roost again, I double back into Cobalion. He Toxics instead of foul plays. Good play on his part. I go for an Iron Head here, and I just keep firing him off. I go here. I go into my Beedrill to sort of sack it as a mid-ground, and I don't know why he switches, but I get to click U-turn here. Go into my Cobalion, and now I get to click Volt Switch, 100% expecting him to switch back into his Mandibuzz, knowing that it walls my Cobalion. I click Volt Switch. It is now in range of my Z Fly at +1, so I'm just going to Dragon Dance. Foul play brings me down to 7%. I fire off my Supersonic Sky Strike. Down goes the Mandibuzz. It did like 77 min, and he goes into his Lopunny. He doesn't click Fake Out, I guess knowing the game was over, or predicting me. His only way of winning there was going for the HJK, expecting Cobalion to come in for me to try and save differential, which was a smart play on his part. I can respect that, but I was just willing to sacrifice my Salamence. So I go for a Dragon Claw, Lopunny dies, and we end group stages 3-0 with a +9 differential, which is the second highest in the entire tournament, I think. I think there's one other person who ended 3-0 with a 9 differential, and then Monotui, who ended 3-0 with an 11 differential. So overall, not bad so far. And we're going to get into bracket play starting next week. Yeah. I'll have that video for you next week, I hope, he said. But anyway, comment on the video. I'll link you to Shadow's stuff. He's an analyst for the NPL, which is actually kind of cool. I didn't know that until I saw his side of the battle. And yeah, overall, I'll catch you guys next time. Peace.